give us a fantastic best of 3 in the Vancouver Regional Championships. Ian Robb on the left.
You were mentioning, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, of course. I mean, we've got his accomplishments here. We talked about how he's aiming for regional win number 5. And with the International Regional Championship as well, like, he's been popping off. He's constantly top 32, top 16. He is one of these names that you see all the time at the top of the Swiss standings and now all the way into the finals. No one's surprised, especially when he's on such a powerful deck.
And Cobi, of course, with starting to get those results under his name. We have a top 16 achievement in the Vancouver Regional last year. We have a world's top 64 as well, so having a pretty good season last time around featuring this Gudra deck. I wonder what he decided to play at the World Championships this past year, because Gudra was not available back then, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, once we get into the World Championships, the meta seemed to be so different back then, and now we're in the age of Lugia. Like, before it was like Mew was everywhere, then it was Arceus was everywhere, and now we're here in Lugia's world. And in the Vancouver Championships, Day 2 final match, Game 1, the prizes look pretty balanced.
Yeah, so far nothing super exciting, right, in the prize cards that could affect either player.
That's what I want to see.
Perhaps the speed energy over on the inside, because Cobi being a Lost Box-based deck, Raikou does factor into being a very important attacker. Same for the Stoutland. We've seen the way you can try to beat Gudra is by simply not dealing with the Gudra. You try and target anything that is available around it, so we'll have to see if Ian has that possibility.
If you give Lugia a chance to constantly dig up and hit with the attackers that it wants into your deck, they just take away all of your utility. We know that the Yveltal, the Stoutland, the Raikou, they cover so many matchups with those attackers. As long as that lines up, Lugia is going to be in a fantastic position. Ian Robb opening up, Lumineon V stuck in the active, but has a Rangaroo. Goes for the Primate Wisdom and then picks up an Evolution Incense.
Seems like the Rangaroo already has been used by it being tilted. We know Ian plays at a lightning fast pace, and it's going to be very key to keep track with all of his actions here. But seeing that Oranguru lead is usually a fair indicator that perhaps your hand is not that great.
We know from experience, right? Seeing so many Lugia matches, so many Lugia mirrors on the stream, the hand can brick. That's exactly how Ian Robb was able to handily win his quarterfinal match and make it here. Rather semifinal.
Semifinal, yeah. We saw that unfortunate game against Daniel.
Oranguru spells the difference. One card can be the difference between your hand being live or dead. And Ian just breathing a big breath now, moving the cards around and calculating the rest of the turn. It looks like the hand might not be that great, Pablo.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he got off to a good start, and he literally he almost read the wind just like Lugia with that, sending that card in front.
Just attach and pass over to Cobi. Cramorant now in the active spot. No cards in the lost zone yet, so no threat of the spit innocently just yet. One Comfey is found, and a quick ball being eyeballed, maybe to find another one, or perhaps a Radiant Greninja. Drapion V going to be discarded. Not useful in this matchup, and we can find the basic Pokemon that we're really after.
Yeah, probably Luminion in this case to really get going off of that Colress experiment at this point. The Greninja, of course, being a really good Pokemon as well, but doesn't guarantee the Colress. And what you want to do is, seeing that slower-ish start of Ian, only one Arceus in the discard pile, you really want to set up that Gudra as soon as possible. And that means getting a bunch of cards in the Lost Zone. We do see the Luminion into the Colress, most likely. I wouldn't imagine grabbing the Raihan or the Roxanne or the boss here, not very useful. So we're going to try and get those cards going into a Lost Zone and get more resources out to establish that Gudra threat.
That is important to note. The Gudra deck plays a little bit differently than a standard Lost Zone list, can rely more on some of these other cards. With the Colress coming through on turn 2, 2 cards going to the Lost Zone, 3 more being added to the hand, you're already on a steady pace to activate that Mirage Gate, get your Gudra V set up. When you have to go up against Lugia, it becomes down to a point where if you meet them in an even playing field, they're at an advantage. You have to take advantage of these awkward starts at the beginning of the game. After the scoop up net, we got Flower selecting for one more card in the lost zone and a little bit more resources for Kobe Kawasaki.
The Roxanne hitting the lost zone does mean there's not going to be any sort of hand disruption available for Kobe against Ian. There's only one copy of that card being played here in the finals match. So Ian doesn't necessarily know that, but seeing one Roxanne in the lost zone definitely gives you a little breathing room in terms of keeping your resources and making sure that you don't have to worry about your hand getting disrupted.
When we have this game coming down to the wire, we're going to see players checking the lost zone, checking the discard piles, trying to keep abreast of every single resource their opponent has access to, because this one is going to be a grind if both players do get set up properly. Orangaroos now Primate Wisdom, putting one card in the hand on top of the deck and drawing that top card to the hand.
Seems like Ian is not drawing anything right now, though.
Gets an Archeops, that's a start.
Yep, so it's going to be read the win time.
Just to discard a Manaphy. So one Archeops in the discard pile. Kobe Kawasaki has had tons of time and tons of breathing room to get established, but it might not even be fast enough, because even when you get Gudra V-Star up and running, that 200 damage is a little pitiful when Ian has so many attackers potentially available after the summoning star. So after Koratz's experiment comes through, it's a tough decision being asked of Kobe Kawasaki to add 3 cards. The Temple of Sinnoh looks like a very powerful keep, but what else do you think he might be looking for, Pablo?
I mean, if Kobe is able to activate Mirage Gate and finds the choice build here, then all of a sudden that Lugia is gone and Ian has nothing on the board. So Kobe has a really good opening here to establish that commanding lead. The Lugia is gone. There's no potential Lugia V-Star next turn. And yeah, I mean, that's the key card that Kobe needs to find, but how do you guarantee it? There's no way to directly search for it. You have to rely on the flower selectings, but actually there's
just
not
passes.
Even a switch. No, yeah, okay, yeah, they did attack. I was wondering if they just signaled the pass. And now Ian finally top decks that Ultra Ball, so will be able to establish that Lugia V-Star. So a big sigh of relief from Ian not getting punished by this low start.
Just in time when the Spit innocently was knocking on the door. Ultra Ball discarding another Archeops, I believe that is. Going to get the Summoning Star up and running, and now we have this continuous flood of threats with 2 Archeops on the bench. That Ultra Ball grabbing the Lugia V-Star. So just when it seemed like Kobe was going to get an iron grip on this first match, Ian Robb is going to put up a real fight for the finals.
Yeah, this reminds me of Kobe's match against Stefan Tobacco, who also was off to a slow start, managed to establish 1 turn later than they would have hoped for, but Kobe was still able to run with the game. So we'll have to see if we see a sort of repeat of that match here. But yeah, Kobe definitely had a very big opening to be able to capitalize on the single Lugia V being played and being exposed in the active, but couldn't quite get there. The combination of cards in her hand didn't allow for that. And now we see Ian checking his deck to make sure that he has the right energies to apply as much pressure as possible to Kobe at this point.
So double Aurora being attached to the Lumineon V. We still have 1 more Primal Turbo to use as well. This is going to be an Aqua return to shuffle this Lumineon V back into the deck and deny that damage. Those potential 2 prizes for Kobe Kawasaki. Professor's Research to cap off this next sequence. 7 cards now to the hand.
Yeah, now Ian definitely has a very big opening here. This is a single prize being taken, but with the possibility of Stoutland, with the possibility of Raikou, and still access to Yveltal, Ian might never have to actually deal with the damage reduction from Gudra. It will depend on how easily he finds his boss's orders in time, but I could see Ian easily navigating around the Gudra V-Star damage reduction and just taking 2 prizes on that Luminion, 2 more prizes on the Comfey, and then Yveltal to close out the game, or even another boss on the other Comfey. So it's on Kobe to really remove some of these potential liabilities from his bench.
And you can see Ian recognizes the implications of this stage of the matchup. Double checking the lost zone, double checking the discard pile. Not only do you need to put up a strong threat, but you have to start working your way towards a bit of a checkmate scenario where there are no more good plays for your opponent. Aqua return, shuffles Lumineon V back into the deck. Oranguru is promoted. Cramorant goes down. That's going to be one prize for Ian Robb after he's done shuffling. And now the train has left the station. It's going to be Primal Turbo after Primal Turbo, threat after threat. And Cobi does not have a Manaphy to stop this Raikou.
Yeah, no Manaphy to stop Raikou. The Temple of Sinnoh also hitting the Lost Zone along with the Roxanne, so no real way to slow down Ian. So if Ian is able to accumulate ways to boss his orders and bypass the Gudra V-Star, or if Cobi isn't able now to find the big parasol to stop the Yveltal, I really think Ian is in the driver's seat, and especially after not being able to bench that Lugia V on turn 1, I think he must be having a big sigh of relief of like, okay, I'm definitely like very much still in this game, and now I actually have a very big lead.
Once you get your summoning star as a Lugia player, you're feeling very confident, and we see Ian take that pause to calculate the turn and then immediately and swiftly execute on that plan. He's incredibly practiced and confident on this list. It's going to be up to Cobi Kawasaki to respond to this level in kind with the Gudra V-Star. This is a list that a lot of players weren't really big on, especially in day 1 of Swiss. We didn't know how far it was going to go, but Cobi has proven everyone wrong and gotten this far. It's one more Lugia player to take down. We'll see if he has what it takes. Escape rope being picked up and used here after the shuffle. Ian Robb has to figure out what's going to come up into the active.
Yeah, he has to realize it. Does he give up 2 prizes on the Lugia, or does he give up one of these energy accelerators with Arceus? And I think Cobi very purposely didn't play Colress this turn, I don't think. Maybe they did.
He did get the Colress
okay,
this turn.
okay, because he was holding a boss, so I feel like there was merit to making sure that you could get a KO on an Arceus, because then that prevents the future Yveltal play, and especially because he didn't get access to that big Parasol. I think that could have come in clutch, but seems like one last try for the big Parasol onto the Comfey right here. Not going to be able to find it, so getting 2 prizes, but the Yveltal is a very easy and potential response, as long as Ian can counter this newly played Temple of Sinnoh.
It always feels bad when you have to bring your Gudra V-Star into the active and you don't have the protection against the Yveltal. Ian kept both Archeops live on the bench so we can get that massive acceleration on the Yveltal for the amazing destruction and take down this Gudra. We need one more play to get rid of the Temple of Sinnoh. I want to take a closer look at Ian Robb's deck here. There's 1 copy of Lost Vacuum and 1 Pumpkaboo to get this out here.
Yep, no scoop up nets to utilize Pumpkaboo over and over, as we saw in one match though. 1 use out of Pumpkaboo in this match tops.
And so Archeops is promoted to the active after the Lugia V-Star goes down. And this is where Ian is in a tight spot. We have 1 top deck for the turn, maybe a supporter, and then finally Primate Wisdom to get those remaining pieces. We need Yveltal. We need to make sure all the right energies are still in the deck to accelerate to it. And 1 more answer for the stadium.
I wonder what Ian's line of play is here. He is giving up on Aluminium here, so no access to Voss. We might just see a Pumpkaboo plus Yveltal play right here, as it can be fetched with the capture energy. And yeah, Ian is just double checking that every resource that he needs is available, that other double turbo, the heat fire. So everything is available right here for Ian, very correctly sequencing, getting rid of the stadium first, then attaching the capture, then getting the Yveltal. And as you mentioned, Ian is definitely planning everything and then executing, and we see how swiftly everything happens, whereas we've seen our players who can sometimes play a card and then they think their next play, and then they play the next card and then they think, and so there's not that fluidity in their play as we are seeing from Ian right now.
And then you have a chance to missequence, lose your train of thought.
You have those moments. Maybe I should have done that before, right?
Yeah, we've seen players, get massively punished by discarding an energy instead of this card or that card and not being able to execute the plays that they truly want. And after this Yveltal is powered up, we get the Primate Wisdom as well to see 1 more card. There's a Marnie for a final dose of disruption, so that after the Gudra V-Star goes down, Cobi Kawasaki will not have enough cards to respond effectively. Once this Archeops retreats, the amazing destruction will strike true, and that'll be 2 more prizes going to Ian Robb.
Yeah, notice how Ian used Oranguru to save a card before he Marnied, guaranteeing that he now has access to that brand new card in his hand, which I'm I might have seen a boss's orders perhaps. So Ian with a very clear path to winning here has 2 boss's orders now in their hand, and by benching that Lugia, they have a certain KO on the Luminion as well.
Mirage Gate is online, getting ready to power up the Gudra V-Star. Cobi can take this moment to also look through the deck and see what resources are remaining. You can take down Evital, but then the next threat might be a Radiant Charizard, just dealing so much damage to the Gudra V-Star, forcing the Moisture Star. You can buy yourself maybe 1 or 2 more turns after that, but we can see after the Lugia and after the Evital, I believe we still have a plethora of powerful colorless energy still in Ian Robb's list, creating an additional threat with the Stoutland V.
Indeed, that is correct. And there's also a possibility of a different play, playing Escape Rope to send that Gudra back to the bench, eliminating the effect, and then allowing Ian to play boss's orders to bring it back up. Now, this Escape Rope is very interesting, though, because that will send the Yveltal back onto the bench, and unless there's a boss's orders play here,
there wasn't a way to get this out of the... Okay, so it's escape into a boss. I was worried.
It's just the switching, because otherwise, leaving that Yveltal alive is such a big benefit for Ian, right? You always, after you use Yveltal, you always expect for it to go down. If it doesn't, that's probably game over in most situations.
2 reps of amazing destruction. I've only seen it a couple times, Pablo, and it's always... I would love to see the chart, the win rate immediately spike after getting 2 just instant knockouts. A lot of work had to be done there, a lot of hoops to jump through for Cobi to get rid of that Evital, and gets 1 prize for his trouble. The game is now even, 3 prizes remaining for both players, but Primal Turbo is still doing a lot of heavy lifting for Ian Robb's list. We still got plenty of energies left in the deck to be accelerated onto this Lugia V.
I reckon Ian's plan here is to eliminate either the Luminion or the Comfey. Unfortunately for Ian, both Pokemon could potentially go back into the deck or into the hand with Scoop Up Net or through the regular attack. So that could be something that Ian could suffer from in terms of trying to not deal with this Gudra V-Star. But if it is the Luminion that's the one attacking, then that means there's no damage reduction, and that opens up the Gudra play for a KO with multiple powerful energies from the Lugia. So I think Kobe's stuck against the wall right here.
Yeah, the Lugia V ends up being a great pivot just because it's so difficult for the Gudra to reach that HP total without a choice belt. Here's the boss's orders to bring up the Comfey.
There's the Comfey KO. Does Ian have a V-Star, though? Because if he doesn't, it opens up the possibility for Cobi to take a return KO on the Lugia on the choice belt, with a choice belt and a Temple of Sinnoh, as we do see the V-Guard energy protecting that Lugia at least temporarily. We see a Temple of Sinnoh in the lost zone. We know another one was played earlier on, but with the combination of the 3rd Temple of Sinnoh and the choice belt, that could make something happen for Cobi here. But his hand's not great, unfortunately. No way to really draw cards or find those 2 very crucial resources.
Lugia is great at setting up attacker after attacker, but when the situation calls for it, if you don't find the right attacker at the right time, it gives your opponent a massive window of opportunity to stay in the game or to punish you directly. Lugia V-Star is the final card that Ian Robb needs to tie this turn together to get the knockout and have a resilient Pokemon in the active spot.
Definitely a little bit risky for Ian.
Just takes the attack, no Lugia V-Star.
Yep, so risky for Ian. Kobe's hand is very underwhelming, so they won't be able to capitalize on this opening. I feel like Cobi has had quite a few possibilities to to take advantage of Ian's a little underwhelming setup sometimes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the combination of cards has not been there for him. We are going to see Cobi recognize that there's a potential for the Luminion to be targeted down. So I reckon his goal this turn would be to try and use the attack, send it back into the deck, and then promote the Comfey so that the Gudra is a little protected. But with Ian holding that second boss's orders in their hand, the game might be coming to a close next turn.
Yeah, the Luminion V is on the bench. We've got Escape Rope to bring up another single prize attacker, get this Luminion into the active to get it out of the way with Aqua Return. Brings up the Comfey for a Flower Selecting. And this is a single prize Pokemon, right, that is just dangling there for Double Dip Fangs to maybe take those remaining 2 prizes. There is 1, 2, 3 powerful energy on the Lugia V. So is that still enough? No, not enough for the Stoutland V. So he does feel confident with this Comfey being in the active spot. He's just going to immediately switch that off after the flower selecting. There's a Temple of Sinnoh and a knockout. Rolling Iron dealing 200, and now there is that beautiful damage reduction. Can Gudra V-Star stay alive and try to threaten 2 more prizes to close this one out?
Ian does have the boss's orders, but does not have a counter to Temple of Sinnoh, so he cannot make use of those powerful energies to eliminate the Luminion V. Now, Ian doesn't have a 2-prize Pokemon on the bench, so there's no way for Cobi to really win this upcoming turn unless he finds the choice belt and the Temple of Sinnoh stays in play. There is a possibility that Lugia retreats this turn, but I feel like if you end up in a situation where you don't find the V-Star, the second attack of Lugia V can still take the stadium out of play.
I'm trying to see the deck here. After the quick ball is being played, Lumineon is found. There's one Aurora in there, it looks like, so is Raikou V off the table. Radiant Charizard now is being found in the late game when the game is kind of winding down and you're running low on resources and energies as the Lugia V-Star player. Radiant Charizard's Excited Heart ability, allowing it to attack. As long as you have that Heat Fire or one more Aurora available for it, seems like it could be strong. Yep. Primate Wisdom also seeing one more card off the top.
Ian really needs to find that extra copy of Lost Vacuum, or will have to wait a turn to remove the Temple of Sinnoh, which that would protect Lugia from the potential choice build attack from the Gudra. There's the discard with the Aero Dive attack, and very little damage, but just enough to open up the KO on the Luminion next turn. So Ian unfortunately couldn't win this particular turn, but by removing the stadium, the V-Guard energy coming in super clutch and preventing Cobi from winning this turn.
Yeah, we can already see the count. There's one Temple of Sinnoh in the Lost Zone. That one was just sent to the discard pile. And is there one more temple available? Let me double check the numbers here.
I don't think so. There's 3 total in the list. There's one in the Lost Zone, and we just saw the third one, I believe, getting discarded. There should be 2 Temple of Sinnoh. Ian very kindly going to check that for us. And I believe I saw that second Temple of Sinnoh right there.
That's exactly what he's worried about as well,
exactly.
Pablo. If that Temple of Sinnoh comes through to cancel out the V-Guard energy, combined with the Choice Belt, Kobe Kawasaki would be able to take 2 prizes this turn and close it out. Has a damaged Gudra V-Star in the active. The Lumineon V on the bench is a huge liability from this position, and it's going to come down to the rest of how this turn plays out. Ordinary Rod finding a Cramorant, 2 energies, shuffling these back into the deck. We've got to get this Lumineon V out of the way.
Yeah, that's definitely Ian's path to win here. The damage on the Gudra is actually not relevant. There's still a V-Star available to heal off that 50 damage, which in another situation might have come into play.
This will be the smallest amount of damage I think I've seen healed with Moisture Star. When you know that you need to correct those numbers. There's the switch after all. Is Cobi going to pull the trigger on Moisture Star here just to make absolutely sure this Gudra V-Star is as healthy as possible? Because this isn't going to be rolling iron. You're going to be taking full damage next turn.
Right, we do see the Choice Belt in the deck for Cobi. This 90 damage could be very, very relevant. Ian still holding the boss's orders onto
Moisture
that
Star.
Gudra though, but yeah, there's a healing. So Ian, I'm not sure if he has a Choice Belt left. If he does, then all of a sudden Charizard could win it for him. We know he has it in his hand from the previous turn, but I don't know if he has access to the Choice Belt or if he's already used it. He only plays 1.
Yeah, there is no Temple of Sinnoh now, finally, after that Aero Dive. So the Heat Fire and the Aurora will be active for the Radiant Charizard. It's so many possibilities for each player to get into an insurmountable lead or just close out the game entirely. And we're coming down to just the small percentages, the difference between one draw, one top deck to close out the game here. He's trying to put it together. Radiant Charizard now hitting the bench. We've got Primal Turbo. One Archeops is still kicking on the bench. Aurora Energy finding its preferred target on the Radiant Charizard. With Kobe Kawasaki having taken 4 prizes, Excited Heart is at maximum effectiveness, and Combustion Blast is on the table.
Really comes down to the wire. Does he find the Choice Belt? Not quite. There's a Lost Vacuum that's not very helpful at this point in time.
One more time.
One more.
Primate Wisdom.
Nope. I don't think that was it. I think Ian now has a choice of Marnie or Boss, but Cobi has so few cards left in their deck and in their hand that it might not be enough. And now this Lugia could be the Pokemon that ends up going down, and Cobi might be able to close out the game here. I don't know what Ian can do. He's really trying to figure out what he can do here, but
you can
think
see
he's
the
out of
shift.
options.
Yeah, when players are, I know if I draw these specific cards, I can take the win. And as soon as that doesn't come through, you immediately see them shift gears, looking to say, okay, what's my best line for defense? How can I buy myself some time? How can I buy myself another turn? Ian Robb looking at some deep calculations here. A damaged Lugia V stranded in the active spot. If you retreat, 2 of those energies are going to go bye-bye, and then you aren't going to be able to attack. You have to commit now to the Raikou or the Radiant Charizard, and it's going to be in Cobi's court to just have a boss's orders to bring that Lugia V back up and get the KO.
Yeah, Ian really trying to figure out what to do here. The game's in the final stages for sure.
How many cards are left in the deck, but goes for the retreat. Has to do everything possible. Retreat into boss.
Attack. And there's the boss from Cobi to target down the Lugia. Ian not very pleased about that, and we'll have to see how game 2 develops here. Very back and forth. Cobi, I am generally very surprised he was able to pull that off. But the Temple of Sinnoh, that Temple of Sinnoh that he was able to find at the perfect. For vacuum with their rider, but that's about it.
Yeah, and the thing too as well, as a Lugia player, you're using a lot of your resources like the Ultra Balls and the Quick Balls to find your setup Pokemon. And then as the game dwindles down, you want to use that Quick Ball to find the Raikou or the Radiant Charizard, right? To get those other attackers to close out the game. And when you have to force your opponent to take the side path of taking a pit stop to find the Pumpkaboo or grab that lost vacuum rather than using the Irida to grab a choice belt or something that's a bit more aggressive, you're throwing the Lugias off their game plans. And Kobe Kawasaki has been living in that narrow space of being able to disrupt Lugia just enough to buy some time. And it's brought him all the way here to being 1 game up in the finals, on the cusp of closing out the Vancouver regionals here and becoming the champion.
Indeed, that previous game, I feel like Ian had so many options. The lost vacuum at the right time, the choice belt at the right time, the Lugia V-Star as well could have finished off that Goodra on the bench, but I mean, maybe he lost those cards in the beginning. I think he definitely discarded the choice belts off of an Ultra Ball at some point, and not finding that second Lugia V-Star by playing this very thin 3-2 Lugia V-Star line, that ended up costing him just a little bit.
Goodra V and Goodra V-Star and a Temple of Sinnoh in the prizes for Cobi, and Ian Robb losing out on a Rangaroo in the prizes for now. So a little bit less utility and less cards to see for Ian Robb and less disruption and ability to stop those special energies on Cobi's side. This is going to really change the way this matchup could play out, but Ian Robb is doing a great job with the Ultra Ball double Archeops discard. He's living the dream now for the Lugia V-Star deck.
Yep, Ultra all into the double raw Archeops as well, which means you don't have to expend any instance resources, and that means you have maximum chances of finding Lugia V-Star the next turn. So very different game from the previous one where we saw Ian with a very underwhelming start. And as I mentioned, yeah, in the top 8 match, we saw Cobi not able to capitalize in some instances against his Lugia V-Star's opponent's slow start, but he ended up running away with the game, and that's exactly what happened in this game 1.
And when we go into a classic fast dream start for Lugia V, how is a Goodra deck going to respond to this when your opponent is actually putting on a lot more pressure, has much more tempo against you? 5 cards now from Koros' experiment. These have to be massive in order to keep Kobe Kawasaki in this game after that Ultra Ball discard.
Now, what a difference finding that Colress without needing to use Luminion. That means there's no liability of Luminion down the line. And as we saw, that was one of the openings that Ian had to close out the game. But imagine a situation where that's never available. Then all of a sudden the game starts being more complicated. And Cobi going as far as throwing away that Luminion into the lost zone, making sure that it's never going to be a liability for him.
Yeah, doesn't want to, is giving up the utility of finding that Corals' experiment or something down the road by taking away that path to victory from Ian. We want the Goodra V-Star to get down onto the bench and just keep that train of rolling iron up and running. After the Comfey hits the active, we got to capture energy to find a second one, and then a flower selecting here, and then a retreat into the second for one more flower selecting. This is going to be 4 cards now in the lost zone on turn 2. Could be a nice cheeky Cramorant attack somehow lining up here if possible.
Yeah, lost zoning the Aluminium, as you mentioned, is one less utility option, but also one less risk. And with such a strong start by Cobi, getting a bunch of cards in the lost zone, a peculiar choice here, but definitely multiple flower selectings, establishing those double Goodras, and having already attached that energy right now, I feel like there's definitely more value in keeping that scoop up net. But the most important thing is getting close to 7. I think they are holding another Colress for next turn, and I'm surprised they're going to go on the aggression instead of benching a second Goodra. 110 damage doesn't really accomplish too much on the Luminion if it's just going to go back into the deck afterwards. I would even prefer to see an extra flower selecting right here from Cobi, but I mean, okay, well, with the escape rope, that really changes things.
Nice.
Now you get that
Has
damage
the
on the
escape rope.
Yeah, and sets it up for the KO on the Goodra V-Star. So actually, never mind. Very well played. I hadn't seen that escape rope yet.
Cobi Kawasaki has had a lot of trouble dealing with the Lugia Vs, the Lugia V-Stars, just coming up short, not having the choice belt or something. But now with the choice belt in hand, is willing to take a much more aggressive stance in the second game, wants to close out the best of 3 right now. If you give Lugia V-Star extra chances, there's always the chance they are going to run away with the game. We have the evolution incense to grab the Lugia V-Star. Summoning Star comes through, and the Archeops are now out of the discard pile and on the bench. Primal Turbo #1 going to start stacking some energies. Do you want to just swing back in with the Lugia V-Star? Are you going to just attach and retreat this to get the Aqua Return on Lumineon V?
I feel like Aqua Return would be very underwhelming. I think if Ian has the possibility within his hand, I haven't been able to take a look, but you definitely want to try and go boss on that single Goodra that Cobi benched, or try to go for the Raikou. Now that Ian has utilized both Archeopses right here, I feel like we're about to see a boss or Serena onto the Goodra if he has it. And there we see the quick ball for the second Luminion for boss. That's what I'm guessing.
Okay. Yeah, so grab the Luminion, grab the boss, wants to hunt down this Goodra V. There's Luminion, beautifully done. 1 powerful energy equipped with the Primal Turbo. We just need 1 more attachment, right, to use this Tempest Dive.
And that's one of the risks that Cobi took last turn. He went for the aggression, but he didn't establish the double Goodra, which means Ian is now not threatened at all by Cobi. Cobi needs to bench 2 more Goodras this time. Otherwise, he could face the same fate right here. And you really can't give up 4 prizes so quickly, Goodra back-to-backs, because then that opens up the easy knockout with Stoutland or Raikou for 2 prizes.
Goodra V-Star, a massively defensive deck, trying to be aggressive in this particular matchup, and Lugia puts it back in its place. Now a little bit of a desperation mode here for Cobi, searching with the flower selecting scoop up net to get another flower selecting. A hard decision being offered here, Raihan or the quick ball. If you go for Raihan, we get an energy attachment, but there's no good targets in play, nothing in hand. You're missing out on the ability to power up that Goodra V. There's a V-Star kind of stranded in the hand. Cobi recognizes this, sends Raihan to the lost zone, has a quick ball instead. This Lugia V-Star is damaged, but there's nothing really in play that can capitalize on it yet.
Yeah, even powering up a regular Goodra V, because there's the V-Guard energy, the Lugia V-Star is protected, and then even with a Temple of Sinnoh, the second attack does 140, I believe, so definitely not enough to deal with this Lugia. And Cobi really up against the wall here with not much on the board. Ian threatening 2 prize turns with Raikou or with Stoutland next turn.
Quick ball discards boss's orders as well. Cobi has now completely been shut down. Can no longer go for an aggressive play, is giving up a lot of utility here and ability to pick his targets. He needs to just get set up here in hopes that the Goodra will be able to stabilize now. After the concealed cards ability. We're going to draw 2 more. There's another scoop up net to bring Cramorant back into the active. Temple of Sinnoh to foil these special energies and then spit innocently for 110 more damage.
Yeah, Temple of Sinnoh definitely puts Ian in a weird spot where if he benches Pumpkaboo to reactivate them, then he has no more bench space in order to utilize either Raikou or Stoutland if he could. So we might see a little bit of a slower turn from Ian right here. Interesting attachment of the double turbo onto that Arceus. We might just see another attack by Lugia. I feel like at this point you're very confident Gudra decks only play 1 Cramorant, so now if that's gone, then what does Cobi attack with? A regular Gudra? I mean, Ian's happy about that, and the stadium is definitely going away right now.
Yeah, a lot of cards have already been used to switch these Comfeys in and out and in and out. 5 cards in the Lost Zone. We need a couple more for Mirage Gate. I don't even know if there's enough water energies left to support this Radiant Greninja and the Moonlit Shuriken.
Now we do see
Raikou's going to be massive now that that's hitting the bench. That's the next threat, the next boss that Kobe Kawasaki has to overcome, and Ian Robb is enjoying a dominant position in this second game.
Yeah, Kobe really needs to find another Temple of Sinnoh to try and delay Ian's attack, but he also hasn't established another attacker. There's no Gudra in play, so no Gudra V-Star coming online anytime soon. So really, really up against the wall. I think this is the game where Kobe might need to rely on a combination of Roxanne plus Temple of Sinnoh to pull through for him.
Yeah, there's 1 Temple of Sinnoh in the discard pile, 1 in the prizes, so there is only 1 more shot at getting that Temple of Sinnoh down and trying to get it to stick. After the Ordinary Rod to shuffle those energies and basic Pokemon back in, we do have the Mirage Gate to set up the Radiant Greninja. We need 1 more energy in the hand to attach for turn, and then we have to find a way to retreat this Comfey out of the active. I don't know if I'm seeing it here. It's going to be a double Mirage Gate just to put an energy on it.
Yeah, it seems like the Mirage Gate will need to be utilized in order to retreat, and Kobe will take 2 prizes this way on the Lugia, but 90 damage is not enough to KO the Raikou, not enough to KO an Arceus. So what's the follow-up, right? You do take 2 prizes, but how do you take the other 4 with no Gudra inside, being down so many energies and Mirage Gates as well? What's the plan here? And now, with the Raikou staring you down, Raikou's going to take another 2 prizes this next turn, it seems.
And then that's going to be Radiant Greninja going down, so you have no attackers. Because of the double Mirage Gate, that final energy that was left in the hand can be used with concealed cards. Draw 2 more. We do have the Roxanne after all. Yep. So this is the prey right here. Shuffling the hands back into the deck, and Ian Robb's going to be down to 2 cards.
Yeah, Kobe really hoping to find a Temple of Sinnoh here. This could potentially delay Ian quite a lot if they end up drawing dead, because all the attackers at the end would have under Temple of Sinnoh would be Arceus, and Arceus would only do 120 damage, which is not enough to KO a Radiant Greninja. So this might be the break that Kobe needs if he finds a Temple of Sinnoh. Does he do it? He does.
The final Temple. Quick ball now being used. Wait, I didn't see. Wait.
Maybe it was double Colress. Maybe I
Okay, hang on. We're going to take a look. I think I see it there towards the bottom by the escape rope. The final Temple there. Really unfortunate stuff. We thought we had it, Pablo.
I generally thought it was in the hand, but I might have mistaken it for that second Colress.
Terrible shame. That was the stopgap measure that Kobe needed to solidify this play, where not only are you taking some prizes, but you need that card that disrupts, offers you some defense to keep your opponent from responding effectively. So now, after this Radiant Greninja comes up into the active, sure, you're going to grab some prizes, but then once this Raikou comes roaring up off of the bench with that amazing shot, how are you going to respond thereafter?
Yep, there's a KO on the Lugia, 90 damage, probably not very relevant. Does choose to use the Luminion, but Ian will get an easy 2 prize turn right here. And now here's something interesting. You could get the 2 prize turn, or you could preemptively damage the Gudra to at least force the V-Star to be utilized, or set up that Gudra V-Star to potentially be KO'd by any of your other attackers. And then I think it's most likely that Kobe's best plan is to have a Gudra V-Star finally powered up in the active, attacking, right? So then, whether you're at 1 prize or 2 prize, if you can go boss KO with Stoutland on those comfies on the bench, that's how you could close the game. But it's like a medium-term play where you could force the V-Star out of Kobe in this situation.
So goes for the eVTOL and goes for the Professor's Research. Doesn't Primal Turbo just yet. So this could offer up a chance to draw too many energies to the hand.
Yeah, exactly. That was a little risky by Ian, not thinning beforehand, opening up the possibility to draw one too many energies on the wrong side of things and then not being able to attack. But it doesn't seem like that was the case. 2 energies still left over in the deck. I'm pretty sure he did draw at least 1 aura energy in hand. But yeah, that was definitely a risky move, Skarsig.
Doesn't get punished, though, Raiko. I guess that there was one more line that Ian somehow calculated and wanted to explore, but does have the Aurora attached from hand. There is the amazing shot, taking 2 prizes and putting Ian Robb all the way down to 1 prize remaining. Cobi Kawasaki has the Chorus Experiment, has the Temple of Sinnoh being offered. I think I do see it there.
Yep, Temple of Sinnoh might be a little too late here, as Ian is now 1 boss away from knocking out either of these Scumface. I don't know if Cobi has enough scoop up nets left even, but there's definitely none in the hand, I don't believe. So those Scumface will remain in play.
Yeah, the double turbo energy being attached to the Archeops means that we can just get 1 attachment for the Speedwing plus a boss onto the Comfey. So Ian was kind of planning for this eventuality as well.
Yeah, there is 1 scoop up net found though. So if Cobi's able to leave the lone Gudra V-Star attacking under Temple of Sinnoh and with a big parasol, that's a dream, right? But that's a lot of cards to get.
And a lot of scoop up nets have already been employed. I am embarrassed to admit, Pablo, I don't have the count of the scoop up nets. I know some of our eagle-eyed viewers in the audience probably know that the scoop up nets aren't going to be the out here. Wait, there's one more in the hand. He's got it. Okay. Yes. Load Gudra V versus Ian Robb's horrifying bench setup.
Yeah, now Ian hasn't used Pumpka with that, I'm sure, and hasn't used the Lost Vacuum either. So both of those cards could be the game-winning cards, allowing Ian to power up the eVTOL if he has enough Aurora energies left, along with the Heatfire. He needs exactly the other 2 and the Heatfire to be able to power up this eVTOL.
Oh, but rebenches the Comfey. He's looking for the flower selecting. There's something specific that he's looking for. Finds the big parasol, so you can protect from the eVTOL, but now you have the single prize Pokemon still stranded in the bench that could be bossed up and knocked out. The Temple of Sinnoh has to stick now.
It definitely has. And I think Cobi was really looking for a way to find energies and put them back into the deck. The Ordinary Rod, yeah, he didn't have any energies left in the deck, so with no Ordinary Rod found, there was no way to even attack with the Gudra. So Ian making a very solid case for the Lugia versus Gudra matchup, and we'll have to see what ends up happening now that Cobi gets to go first this time around.
When we shuffle the cards and head into Game 3, Pablo, this is an opportunity for one of these players to get a massive advantage. We know that Ian Robb running the 3-2 of the Lugia V-Star, but still has 4 Archeops, can still get a bit unlucky with the prizes. Same goes for Cobi Kawasaki, right? If Gudra V ends up in there, if the Scoop Up Nets or Temple of Sinnohs ends up in there, there's a chance that no matter how one-sided the matchup looks, it can still swing completely the other way if you're missing those key cards. And even if they are in your deck, if you can't draw them, it could spell disaster. So far in this best of 3, both players have demonstrated, I think that Gudra has a chance versus Lugia as long as he doesn't get the Ultra Ball double Archeops once more.
I know, this is definitely where prizes could prove to be very, very significant. Or, yeah, it could be beneficial if some of the extra cards don't end up mattering, and you have access to all your resources. Then, yeah, that ends up playing into your favor. Now, the Stoutland being prized could be huge. A bunch of colored energy, the heat and the speed being prized, that could also affect. I feel like this Stoutland could play a major role at some point here, but we'll have to see. It also depends on how strong the starts are, and of course the Gudra deck going first will get at least 2 turns of Lost Zoning and Flower Selecting before Ian is able to attack. So we could see for the first time this round a Gudra V-Star attacking before Ian starts being aggressive.
It seems so bizarre, right, that the point of the deck is to get the Gudra V-Star set up. Temple of Sinnoh in the prizes, Radiant Greninja, Colress, Luminion, a lot of powerful cards now ending up in the prizes for Cobi. Nothing too detrimental, but a lot of utility has been lost. This means that Cobi Kawasaki has to have a very powerful start here. And Flower Selecting puts another Temple of Sinnoh in the lost zone in order to keep an energy, capture energy to get the foundation. And I think that this is how Cobi really wants to approach this matchup. Rather than relying on the utility of Disruption, just trying to get a Gudra V-Star in the active and get the Rolling Iron up and running. This is the quote-unquote main line of the deck that we have really yet to see come out of Cobi Kawasaki.
Indeed, and it seems like Kobe's hand was also a little underwhelming, so being forced to grab that capture in order to establish another comfy, get access to more cards, and have a better turn one. But if we don't see like an ideal setup here with like Greninja and double Gudra being benched, it might not be possible to see that turn to Gudra, and that's an unfortunate
so
use
uses
of
a
the
scoop
capture.
up net.
Yeah. I feel like Cobi was forced to get that comfy. His hand is it's filled of really good cards, but they're just not very good right now.
Another double energy being offered. That's a water energy now in the lost zone.
Yep.
And escape rope to bring the fresh comfy back to the active. This is Flower Selecting number 3. So many hard decisions over and over again. We still need a Gudra V, or maybe even 2 of them from this point. Ordinary Rod has to be kept. We saw how important that is to keep the Mirage Gates online in the late game. So after a pretty underwhelming start, it's back over to Ian Robb. Has the capture energy onto Lugia V. Going to look through. We have the chance to maybe grab a Rangaroo as well to get a little bit more of a peek into the deck.
Yeah, Ian definitely doesn't have to worry about his Lugia V-Star going down next turn, as there's no Gudra V threat. Therefore, he doesn't have to worry about that second Lugia V. Has more time to set up before a big threat is happening, and this is where these sort of decks want to take a big advantage. But the lack of Stoutland, though, I can't emphasize enough, the lack of Stoutland that Ian will not have access to will not allow him to really get as far ahead as he could want to. One turn of 2 prizes with Stoutland and then another turn of 2 prizes with Raikou, that would be ideal, but that will not be possible this game. Ooh.
And if Cobi picks up on that, this is where it can get really muddy. When it's kind of in the late game, Ian Robb might be running very low on energies, and Cobi is just buying turns by just promoting those single prize Pokemon to work into a better position to close out the game with the Gudra. But with the second Lugia V being benched, Quick Ball just thinning down the deck, discarding an Archeops, grabs the Lumineon.
Sorry, you said 6, right?
And we can use Lumineon this turn to grab a supporter. Is there anything specific that Ian Robb wants here? We've got, of course, Irida, et cetera, grabs the Marnie, looking for a bit more disruption, it seems.
All right, so disrupting that turn 1, you don't know what Cobi is holding, but I'm sure Ian's hand is also filled with good resources that he doesn't want to just discard away off of a research. So we're going to see the Marnie get a fresh hand, and with the Read the Wind and the fact that I feel like Ian must know at this point that there's no threat of Marnie. So whatever cards you get right now, you're going to have a lot of resources. You can thin as much as you want, and then Read the Wind will allow you to really get going next turn. Yeah, it can't get better for Ian after Cobi's very underwhelming turn 1.
Yeah, a lot of decks have kind of found a niche where they punish Lugia for having these slower, more awkward starts, and Gudra V-Star we can see how much of a struggle it is for them to really put up any sort of decent threat in the early stages of the game. So Ian Robb is just having a enormous buffer to get set up with the Archeops and the Summoning Star. Cobi using another scoop up net here to get that Comfey into the active. One more Flower Selecting 5 cards in the Lost Zone. Mirage Gate is almost online. Gudra V is found. That's a 3rd scoop up net, if I'm not mistaken. Flower Selecting and Boss's Orders being offered, a powerful utility card that Cobi had to give up on game number 2, but a Metal Energy is being offered, and I think you might need to keep that, but no, sends it to the Lost Zone, wants to stay proactive in game number 3 when there is a lot more on the line. You no longer have that 1 game buffer. Switch, Flower Selecting, 7 cards in the Lost Zone. Mirage Gate is now online. Gudra V going to hit the bench, manual attach per turn. And do we have the Mirage Gate? Not just yet.
Yeah, I mean, using the Mirage Gate here would be a little risky with only one Gudra being in
No,
play.
and this is exactly what we saw in game number 2 with the Gudra V not yet evolved. This is going to give Ian Robb a massive opportunity to boss up this Gudra V and maybe get the knockout.
And he does indeed have the Ultra Wall to get that second Luminion to establish the boss. We know the Luminion is not prized, so that Gudra V will be falling down, leaving Cobi with a very underwhelming setup. And yeah, we see the double V-Star. I want to note how Ian preemptively searched for the Lugia V-Star last time around, or last turn around, because he knew there was no hand disruption here happening against him. And now we see the double Archeops. We might see the Ultra Wall into the Luminion, into the boss, or just the raw boss. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it has the double turbo and the powerful after the energies were already attached previously. And there's the KO on Gudra V. 2 prizes for Ian Robb, a powerful attacking threat gone from Cobi. Gudra V is going to be a massive liability. Every time you bench it, there's a chance that Ian Robb's going to bring it up and knock it out. There's a Gudra V-Star stranded in the hand once again. This is deja vu from game number 2. Can the Flower Selectings put the team on their back here, Pablo, to keep it running? Capture energy to find one more utility. Reminder, there is Luminion V and Radiant Greninja in the prizes for Cobi Kawasaki.
Yeah, Cobi really needs to bench 2 Gudra Vs to try and stay in this, or risk the same thing happening. Another boss's orders on the Gudra, eliminating any sort of threat from Cobi's side off the board. And we know Ian is holding on to an Ultra Wall. We know there's access to that second Luminion as well. So even though he will make himself prone to Roxanne the turn after, it doesn't matter when you're just staring down 2 Comfeys and that's it.
So Raihan does attach the metal energy from the discard pile, is going to have to stare down this third Gudra V grabbed from the Raihan. We've got to bench both of these. Mirage Gate is active, but we have to find the right targets for it, Pablo. And this is going to be close. If Cobi is able to win this one, it's going to be by the skin of his teeth at this point. And all the scoop up nets have been used, so we can't get these Comfeys up and into the hand to play around, you know, the potential of Raikou taking that double KO with the amazing shot. Here is yet another Flower Selecting, still trying to find those missing pieces. Ordinary Rod sent to the Lost Zone in order to keep Colress. You have to see so many cards just to stay in this game. And it's back over to Ian Robb. Comfey now in the active. One more prize yet to be taken.
Ian, indeed, having this initiative, can go hunt down one of those Gudras. Could also get a double prize off of Raikou here, knocking out both Comfeys, leaving Cobi with no support Pokemon available. And that also would be a pretty cool play to see, because either way, he'll probably end up relying on Yveltal to close out this game. However, if he invests 2 Aurora Energy and the Speed Energy onto the Raikou, he knows he will only have 2 Aurora Energy left in the deck. And that does mean that if he doesn't get the Heat Fire off the prize cards, he wouldn't be able to use Yveltal. So I feel like the safer play is to go after the Gudra, especially since, as you mentioned, there's a lot of scoop up nets already having been utilized.
Yeah, the Comfeys, I think, are going to be just free prizes to take at your leisure later on in the game. Ultra Ball just going to keep thinning down here, grabs the Raikou, and now Primal Turbo digging back in. He is going to just commit to this line, it seems, or at least get it set up for down the road. Gudra V is sitting with 1 energy attached to it. Mirage Gate is online, but there's so much energy in the discard pile already and in the Lost Zone. So Cobi Kawasaki losing so much utility and responsiveness as the game goes on. Retreats the Lugia V-Star after all. This Raikou V is fully powered up for the amazing shot. We can take 2 more prizes, and then Ian Robb just has to keep knocking on the door with the remaining attackers and threats to get the final prize cards.
Yeah, even an escape rope could allow Ian to close out the match next turn. He knows he's going to be staring down at least 1 Gudra V-Star in this upcoming turn, most likely. But that other Gudra V that now had to be benched will prove to be a big liability. But Cobi had no choice. If he didn't bench those 2 Gudras, then Ian would have gone Ultra Wall for Luminion for boss to KO the single Gudra. But now that there's 2 in play, he can easily play around the damage reduction and knock out the one that's on the bench.
Mirage Gate being played now by Cobi. Pulls the metal energy and the water energy to the front. double checking the rest of the list to see what resources are still available. It is now or never to try to even stabilize at this point. He's got to try to find the Roxanne here, Pablo, just to get some disruption and buy a little bit of time. Grab that Gudra V-Star.
Yep, it's Roxanne now or never. Cobi needs to disrupt Ian. He needs to make his Pokemon very difficult to take down through the use of the Temple of Sinnoh, through Roxanne denying resources. But does he have it in his hand? I don't think so.
Has to just go for the Colress. There is still that Temple of Sinnoh at the very least, but Ian Robb has yet to use any of those important cards to get rid of that. The bench is full, so no Pumpkaboo. Has to maybe find the Lost Vacuum off of Irida.
Yeah, I think that might... Oof, it's going to be a very interesting close to the series. Definitely that Temple of Sinnoh will be the reason why Ian doesn't have the guaranteed win just yet, unless he already has either the Pumpkaboo and the boss or the Irida.
He's got a lot of cards in hand, but I
something.
can't see it over there in the corner. I guess it'll just be a big reveal for everybody, Pablo.
Yeah.
There's the evolution into Gudra V-Star, and Temple of Sinnoh is established. A knockout for Kobe Kawasaki, gets a quick ball off of the prizes.
Does Ian have the right combination? Removing the stadium, bossing up the bench Gudra V-Star, and enough energy, whether it's powerful for the active Lugia or even the escape rope. The escape rope could be the other way to get this. Oh, I believe that's enough.
Powerful colorless energy.
The stadium removes the powerful energy effect. He can't search for Irida. He can't grab either the escape rope or the Lost Vacuum, but he cannot grab both. But because Gudra V-Star doesn't really threaten this Lugia V-Star. With that one KO, the powerful energies are safe, so Kobe will need another stadium to try and delay this after he heals his active.
So after the Raikou went down, there is now a bench spot for the Pumpkaboo. Ian Robb doesn't seem to have it here. Just goes for the Tempest Dive to deal a little bit of damage, get rid of that stadium. He has a massive buffer here. Doesn't need to win this turn. It would be great if he could, but is just going to get rid of that stadium, force the Moisture Star, just keep attacking, keep dropping this damage until Kobe cannot respond effectively. There's a Capture Energy off the top, going to search through the deck. The Lumineon and Radiant Greninja are still in the prizes. There's really nothing else to grab, just a Cramorant.
Yeah, Cramorant not super impactful here. Kobe needs to heal, but I don't think Kobe has enough time to take 5 prize cards, especially if he doesn't take at least 2 this turn. But
yeah, I can hear the horn of victory ringing for Ian Robb here, game number 3.
Kobe can at best win in 3 turns, right? Taking 2 prizes here and then 2 prizes afterwards and then 1 more prize, but that's only Ian benches another Lumineon, and Kobe somehow has more bosses orders than he currently runs because there's a few that have been lost zoned or sent to a discard pile, so it's going to be really hard for Kobe to close this one out. And Roxanne, I still feel could be the decisive card, but it's not available here.
Yeah, without the Comphase now, you're seeing so much less of the deck. You're pretty much relying on top decks at this point. And after the Moisture Star is used, Ian Robb can simply draw. If you don't get the right card, you can just attack. Chorus Experiment being used.
No Temple of Sinnoh, though. That means Ian off of the back of the Ultra Ball into Lumineon into boss. I think that's how the game might end, knocking out that benched Gudra V-Star. I don't know if Kobe has a way
more
against
temples
that.
Available.
No
one in the prizes, one in the lost zone, one in the discard
There
pile.
you go. Yeah, the prize temple, indeed. All right, so no way to reduce the effect of the powerful energy cards. Ian Robb just double checking his discard pile, making sure he has the resources available and very anxiously waiting for the turn to pass here.
So with all of the powerful colorless energies put onto the Lugia V-Star, Ian Robb, without being held back by the Temple of Sinnoh, just needs to call out his attack and get victory. There's the Ultra Ball. Finds Lumineon for the boss.
There it is.
Brings up the second Gudra V-Star that doesn't have the damage reduced. And Ian Robb taking regional number 5, our Vancouver champion. Beautifully done.
What a win by Ian. Perfectly played. Managed to maintain his composure after that game 1 where he got off to a really bad start. Kobe, of course, played that beautifully. but unfortunately, those games 2 and game 3, Ian was just too far ahead, and he was never able to bench 2 good Ravis when he needed to. He was only able to bench 1 at a time, and Ian very smartly capitalized on that.
Been playing absolutely out of his mind the entire weekend, and he showed us how to do it with Lugia, a meta deck that everybody's been trying to counter 8 ways from Sunday, and it doesn't matter. When you're playing this well, you can just do what you need to and execute on your game plan and then take it away. Meanwhile, the Goodra V-Star, a deck that not everybody believed in, being piloted all the way to the finals, I think it's still a great chance to give a congratulations to Cobi for bringing it this far.
Definitely. We've seen now Goodra V-Star fall in 2 final matches. We're also seeing Lugia take its 3rd consecutive NA regional championship. So what can stop Lugia? Yeah, like I feel it's been available for such a long time that it's like, I don't know, can it be stopped?
I think it's just a matter of letting the numbers fall your way. Like any card game, the prize cards could mess you up. You could have a really, really bad starting hand.